Hello, this is the Blast Report podcast on all things blasting. My name is Evan Tebow with New Wave Consulting, and I want to thank all the drill and blast teams along with those supporting them who are out there on the pattern. The production team at Blast Think and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the Blast Report podcast. This episode of the Blast Report podcast is brought to you by our friends at Sauls Seismic. Sauls Seismic has over 45 years of quality experience in seismic consulting and environmental monitoring and has built relationships with customers across the industry. Not only is data shared with stakeholders in a timely manner, but it's Saul's unbiased third-party results that are what teams need for confirming their work site is within compliance. Saul's exclusive partnership with NOMIS seismographs offers leading vibration monitoring for all your blasting operations, whether you're optimizing a large metal mine, maintaining relationships with homeowners around your demolition job, or if you need their pre-blast surveys for your construction project. Sauls Seismic is a proud partner of all blasting applications and is happy to be safe and effective on your next job site. Check them out at saulseismic.com. All right, everyone, welcome to the Blast Report podcast. I've got Thomas Greiwe here today. Thank you very much for coming on.
You are most indubitably welcome.
I wanted to get you on the show. This is the first interview we have here at the Best in the West conference, and you didn't know what you walked into, so I just want to get a little lowdown on who you are.
Still have no idea why I'm sitting where I'm sitting, but
let's hear some stories here. I want to I want to understand. You're in an interesting field. You have taken your business and gone towards the demolition, construction and demolition side of business.
Correct.
And, a lot of people in this industry want, that's when you tell someone, oh, I work with explosives, that's what they think. Oh, demolition, it's like, no, I'm do this or I do that. So, and it's hard to get in or it's family owned and things like that. So first I'd like to understand who you are, how you got your start, and then kind of shift into what it's been like on how you've molded your career into the way that it is into your success today.
Well, it's not an overly exciting story. Pretty standard issue. 28, 29 years ago, I don't remember exactly. Literally started on a drill.
In Missouri?
In Missouri.
Okay.
Worked for a grading and excavating company in Missouri.
That's cold?
Yeah, cold grading.
Okay.
Worked married into it. They had just bought a blasting business. Didn't trust people running it. So mold me in.
Literally married into it?
Literally married in. And they used me as a mole in the company and started on a drill, ran a drill for about a year.
What age?
So 26, 29 years ago, I'd have been late 20s.
Okay.
Is when I really got into it. I'll be 54 here in a couple months. So 28, 29 years company. Ran a Gardner, Denver, 3,500 canvas.
Nice.
Swinging P38 steels for a solid year.
Just
hand.
Dust everywhere.
Yep. Because most of the time the dust collectors didn't work.
Yep.
And we had a couple of old white. We had an old white one and a blue one. I ran the blue one, gray one. And I am still thankful that I ran a drill for as long as I did because it gave me a completely different understanding of blasting when you run through.
There's a lot of highways in Missouri that you
Oh yeah,
you poked holes in.
Poked a lot of
with
holes.
That drill, huh?
Poked a lot of holes all over the state of Missouri, and then migrated all over the country. Worked on the road for 9 years. Did highway cuts in several different states, and loved it. Honestly, loved it. Loved the industry. But got my start on the blasting side, and my mentor, which some people know who this is, some people won't, Alan Hale.
Alan Hale, that name has come up.
And Alan was a tech rep for...
He has a scholarship.
Yes, Alan Hale.
The Mid-America Scholarship, right?
Yeah. They do a trout fishing tournament every year.
That's right.
And it's a lot of fun. Daryl, his brother Daryl, is always the cook at it. But Alan was the tech rep for Dino in that area. And then Buckley came. after Alan. But when Alan was there, it was strictly dyno. But Alan was a guy that you could call any time of the day and just bounce things off. And he would never give you an answer. He would give you the means that you needed to formulate.
Oh, that's cool.
He would never just answer your question. He made you answer your own, which made you think about it in a different fashion.
Mm-hmm.
He would figure out how you were thinking about it, and then he would give you the tools to think in a different fashion.
That's a mentor.
And that's how you learn. So he helped me with several really tight projects. We were shooting basement subdivisions outside St. Louis. They're literally 80-acre lots with 60-foot basements. So we're 20 foot from existing housing, shooting basements. And it was early in my career, and it made me think a lot different on how we blast.
How long did you work with Alan on projects in that time frame?
I'm gonna say a few years, 3 to 5 years, I'm guessing, before Alan got sick. Alan was in Vietnam, and I don't know, it was some sort of a cancerous thing. They say it was Agent Orange related or whatever. I don't
Probably was.
sure.
My father's in Vietnam. He's got Parkinson's. Yeah,
It's very possible. I don't know for sure. I can just tell you Alan was as a person, which I'd take a bullet for anybody. He would.
So I know his scholarship has helped a lot of students from Rolla, big time. And so he has that legacy there. What are some of the lessons specifically, if you can think of, that he kind of taught you? Are there any?
You're asking me to go back a long way.
Oh yeah, man. Plucking away here.
Honestly, it was more just Alan. Again, he never gave you the answer. He gave you the tools for you to figure out, which you don't learn by people telling you the answer. You learn by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I could intricacies of what the details were. I can just tell you that he approached things way differently than a lot of people.
So you're shooting basements. You're fairly early on in your career. You started out in construction. So you're already constantly learning the art of blasting, because there is...
And you're smiling at me because you know that I'm a proponent of the art of blasting, not necessarily the science of blasting.
So your medium that you are working with is constantly changing, ever changing. And it's go, go, go.
Yeah, you're not given, in the construction world, you don't have engineers that are looking at benches that know the exact strata line, that know the exact density, know the exact compressive strength. You're showing up on a basement that was drilled yesterday and the drill's already gone. You're handed a drill log. Thank God I got a drill log that shows what's there. And you're going to load it, cover it, and shoot it. You show up, and this is 20 plus years ago. You showed up in a pickup with a box on the back of it, loaded down with Anvil and Blastex or whichever company product you was using at the time, and shot the basement or shot the construction cut. You don't have the opportunity to really sit down and do all of the calculations and do all the science. Oh, when you showed up, the driller laid it out on the pattern that he thought you should be shooting.
And you just had to do your best.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
And that is the construction world. Now, I've been removed from the construction world enough for the last 6+ years that I'm hoping that has changed some. But in the company that I was with, it still happens sometimes.
So when you, so with Alan, how long were you kind of fostered through that phase of?
I'm going to say 3 to 5.
Okay. And then at that point, you started to kind of run your own You were the lead blaster. You were doing your own things with a little less oversight. Were there any, like, what was the moment before, like, when you met Alan that you said, this is blasting is interesting, is what I want to do? Or you were like, well, I married into this family. I need to make money and I need to fix this so that I can keep my marriage.
No.
What was it that made you do this?
Blasting is ever changing. And the majority of people that have stayed in the blasting industry, I mean, we're all ADHD. Every single one.
Hell yeah.
We can all admit it. We're junkies for it.
That's the reason why we work outside.
Yes, we're junkies for it. It's not the thrill of it. At least for me, it's not the thrill of it. It's that every day is a challenge. Every shot is different. Every shot is a challenge.
I think you're right on that. And I think I want to add that it's also, you see the fruit of your labor at the end of the day, or at least the end of the month. Like, you're seeing progress. And if we weren't so ADD, you couldn't stare at a long-term.
We passed by it on our way to the conference, passed by a golf course. It reminded me. A friend of mine, good friend of mine back in St. Louis, played for the St. Louis Cardinals. And when he retired out of baseball, he took a job as a green mower at a golf course in St. Louis. And it was the best job that he ever had. Because at the end of the day, he could look back on the stripes that he put on them fairways, and it was instant gratification.
Interesting.
And that is the same way with blasting. When you get done with a shot and you take that deep breath and you go, okay. And it's, yes, there is a high that goes with it. No doubt about it. We have an industry that provides that high.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that says that they don't get a little palpitations in their heart before a shot needs to probably get out of it.
True. Yeah.
Because the palpitations is what keeps you on your toes. That's what makes you think about it.
Keeps you alive.
And it makes you protect everybody else.
Mm-hmm. So, so it was almost instant for you that you became.
Yes. And it's the ever-changing challenge is what I'm going to say is what really sunk its teeth.
And so you were doing construction, and was there any situation? I usually tend to ask people, I don't try to ask the same questions every single interview, but they get kind of repetitive. So if for some of our listeners, like, why does he ask the same damn question? But what were some of were there some early incidences that almost scared you away, or where you learned something the hard way and that you really needed to, that humbled you, or let's say something like that?
Pickups I've rained on, how many windows and equipment I've broken. Part of it is my own. Yeah, you're far enough. Part of it is people wouldn't move things.
Yeah, lots of people still don't move shit.
Sure.
They still don't.
We had a shot down at Lake of the Ozarks. Road cut. Ditch extended off the side of the road cut for a ways. Just a shallow ditch. Drilled a bunch of 6 and 8 foot holes up this ditch line. And loaded it just like we'd done for the last 18 months. End of the day, loaded, you drill as much as you can drill, and then you finish up loading it and you shoot at the end of the day. Was using a skid loader to pack everything down in the ditch, and just parked the skid loader 400 or 500 foot away. We're far enough. Was standing, had the skid loader facing away from the shot because I am a superstitious blaster. Never face the windshield towards the shot. Had the skid loader parked facing away from the shot, and I'm standing on the bucket, looking over top the skid loader at the shot. Touched it off. Boom, 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 boom. Had a couple holes blow out. Really nothing major. Didn't think anything about it. And was just standing there on the bucket, looking over the machine, and a clump of mud, probably the size of a softball, whopped right on the roof of that skid loader. And I'd never seen it. And splattered mud in every direction.
And you're right. Yeah, right.
I mean, landed 3 foot in front of me on the top of that skid loader, splattered mud all in my face and everything else. It scared the living daylight. Because I had no idea. I didn't see it.
People say, "Oh, you'll see it coming." No.
Yeah, you'll see it coming.
You don't
step to the side.
No,
I did not see it, and it gave me And that was several years into it that happened. And I'm the old blaster that, when you're standing behind the pickup, this is my spot to get under the truck. Everybody, pick your spot out, because if you're crawling in my spot, I'm dragging you out.
Mm-hmm.
But it gave me a different appreciation.
Wow. Yeah, 100%.
And we've sent rocks through roofs. We've done all of that, and it happened. When you get in the construction world, it's different than the quarry world is very structured, very cookie cutter. You have the built-in safeguards. You have room, and if you get any kind of fly rock in a quarry, that happened. We'll hold it down a little bit next time. Well, when you've got general public surrounding you, you don't have quite that buffer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as technology has changed and experience changes, that percentage and what has happened, what used to happen is a lot less, with matting and things like that. But
sure,
that doesn't change what has happened in the past. And so,
sure. And when you're given a job on a construction side, you're given a job and here's your budget. Okay, well, 99% of your blasters weren't involved in the bidding process,
mm-hmm.
and you're given a budget to do this, and you're expected to earn a profit, although you had no bearings on what the cost of it was. So it's run and gun.
So it's very much a gap of communication between who is bidding that and who is actually shooting it, and what needs to be done safely and what needs to be done to turn a profit and to be done safely.
You're always going to have people want to cut corners that are willing to do it at less profit. And that's business.
Yeah. And you need to be able to do it at the cheapest you can, but also maintain a certain level of safety so that you can guarantee that, or you can, I guess guarantee is a hard word in any business, but
yeah.
Okay. So when you were, moving forward from some of these hard lessons, what were some, that when that mud hit in front of you, what was something that you kind of changed or decided, okay, I'm going to do X now from now on? Or
really, it wasn't. We didn't change anything major. I'll be honest, we got complacent.
So instead of not changing, you had gotten complacent.
We got complacent with it, and there was another blaster that was on the same job, and we were kind of bouncing back and forth throughout the job. Had a couple of different jobs going, and it was wherever the hottest fire is really all you're just trying to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got equipment waiting on you, you're doing everything you can just to try and provide enough rock to keep equipment. And we got complacent. I got complacent. I'm not going to speak for my other blaster, but I got complacent. And was it that I didn't stem a hole good? Was it that I overloaded a hole? Was it that the driller didn't catch a mud seam? I truly have no idea. I can kind of give you where it came out of, but at the end of the day, in the construction world, it was, well, nobody got hurt and we're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you take a step back and pay attention, because complacency is what gets people hurt. There's no doubt about it. And in our industry, every single hole is as important as any hole in a shop.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you get complacent on one hole, that might be the one hole that's going to hurt someone.
Yeah, that has.
I got lucky that it was 3 foot farther, 3 foot closer to the shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if it would have landed on top of my head 20 years ago, 15 or 18 years ago, whatever it was, it probably would have killed me.
Yeah. And Now, what's something that you use as a tool to fight complacency now?
Ooh. That's a tough.
Because that is, regardless of what industry you're in, that's a good lesson right there. So is there something that you think, obviously, filling out your proper blast reports, right?
Sure.
Checking your load sheets, your drill logs, working with a driller that you
It's
appreciate and you can communicate with.
if you surround yourself with good people, it makes your job better. And was it a hole that I stemmed? I don't know. Was it a hole that my helper stemmed? I don't know. I truly have no idea. But you just have to step back, slow down just a little bit. Even in the run and gun situation, you have to just, people outside of our industry don't understand how critical it is. We had an engineer that needed some continuing education. He went to one of the conferences. It was the Kansas conference, and he actually took the Missouri and Kansas test while he was there. Did the whole conference, took the test, came back from it, didn't pass it, doesn't know anything about that, but came back from the conference and went, wow. So all that stuff that you guys complain about, it really does, it really is a need. It's not a want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah. When you get in our world, the blasting, the rock blast, people outside of it don't understand. All they think is that we're bitching and complaining. They don't understand that we're trying to actually get the things that we truly need, which is a clean face, which is a clean surface.
Proper bench prep.
Yeah. There's so much to it that we don't always get, and we have to figure it out.
That's right. Some site foreman is, we couldn't get there today.
Yeah.
And
you show up on a road cut and you look at it and go, what the hell do you want us to do with that? Well, what do you mean? Well, I can't put a dozer on that anymore. Well, how do you expect us to get a drill around on it? If you can't put a dozer on it, how do you expect us to walk a 40,000-pound unstable drill around it?
Jerry Wallace, in one of our interviews, he was mentioning the fact I thought it was interesting. He's like, that you just call your insurance, pull the contract in your favor, and there's a point where you just have to.
But you can't
draw the line.
You can't do that when you're your own.
Well, I think that's what he said he was doing. Like, when you can really prove it, when you can really say that, sure, I don't want to do business with someone who's going to put me and everyone at risk, and you're at a level in your company that you can afford to say those kinds of things, that it provides that stability or that safety on your own end to say, look, this is what I'm doing. And then if you don't want to do that, this is the consequence.
And the only way to back, have your project estimate, corporate, actually be out there with you, doing it, showing them, okay, if you'd have done it differently and allowed us to do this, but it would cost more. Now, is there another company out there willing to take that risk? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
And at what point do you
lose that business? Lose
the business by mitigating risk. If you mitigate every single risk in every single project, you're never going to get a project.
I have heard that, and there's certain levels of how far you have to go, and that's probably why you have shifted into some of the demolition side of businesses, because there is a certain level of risk that other people won't deal with, and you can go into.
Sure.
So at what point were you able to, okay, you went from construction, and then someone said, hey, I got a bridge pier I kind of need you to get rid of too. Can you do that? And you're like, well, I've shot concrete before. I think I could do that. Or,
sure.
Is that kind of how it happened?
That's really exactly how it happened. We'd shot concrete piers and concrete bases and different things throughout time. And a company called Demtech out of Pennsylvania was shooting the bridges around St. Louis. They shot the Chain of Rocks Bridge, shot the Blanchette Bridge, and they shot the Boone Bridge. Well, they didn't want to haul a drill out to shoot the pier. So the guy that owned Demtech asked around, and Alberese, they said, call Tom. They're close. He's the guy that you really want. So Jason, my lead driller at the time, lead blaster, lead driller, we went out, looked at it, problem, flew the drill out there, drilled the piers. They shot them. And I thought I charged him an astronomical amount to drill them. And evidently I was half of what he did. But coming from the construction world, working 10% or less margins, I was floored by it. So
a light bulb went off in your head.
Well, we started helping them on some different projects, and I had some leads on things that I would get calls about, and I'm like, yeah, that's not really. And well, now I had somebody to give these leads to on people that call me. So started working with Demtech. Albert, the guy that owned it, was in his 60s. Kids weren't involved in it. Had nobody to pass it on to, so he just approached me and said, hey, what about buying? So we sat down, worked through the books and everything. We bought the company.
Wow. So you you then completely stepped away from the grading company?
No.
Or it's part of the same entity almost?
Still managed the grading company's blasting division for about 2 years. And Keith, a guy that worked with me for over 25 years, off and on, he had left a couple of times. When we got super slow, he had went to other companies. And he had been back with me for several years. He kind of took that over. He's running it. And he's fighting the fights that I used to have to fight. And he's getting gray fast from it. But that allowed me to focus more on the demo side. So it's probably about 4 years, somewhere in that area, that I've really done nothing but the demo side. But Demtech is part of cold grading. So the family partnership owns a multitude of entities,
right?
And it's one of the points on the umbrella as well.
Okay.
Cold grading is a point. Demtech is a point. There's multiple different entities that are points on.
So you saw a financial opportunity. At first, it started out with, hey, now I can start putting these leads towards Demtech, and I can be the driller for it. Or
Demtech?
Or how did that work when you were like, okay, I can do the drilling and blasting, but they're doing the actual, they're doing more of the demolition?
So when we bought Demtech, we had 6 drills doing custom quarry drilling in Ohio. And the explosive demolition. Well, they did shoot a lot of trench lines around the Ohio, Pennsylvania, which that kind of dried up because when the coal mines kind of phased out in that area, a lot of the contractors, blasting suppliers that had drills then shifted more towards the construction.
Okay.
So that really hampered us because we can't compete with distributor or supplier. You can't. As a construction person, you can't compete with it. If I'm calling, we're just going to say company A, I'm not going to name it. But if we're calling company A to get a price for a product and they're bidding the same product,
you lose.
I lose. I can't compete with it. So we did the custom quarry drilling. That ended up, it's not that I wanted to get rid of it. I had an opportunity to get rid of it when a company was buying a lot of the entity, did the custom drilling, and they approached me about buying that portion of it. And it was something that I could take off.
This is the quarry side.
The quarry side.
Yeah.
So basically sold off all of the big drills, kept a couple of the small drills, and we just used them on whatever concrete stuff we this. I still have the cold grading side that if we're shooting urban base, big concrete, I can still have them drill it, pay them as a separate company.
Mm-hmm.
And they're billing at our rate, at the demo rate instead of the normal construction. So we're making.
That makes sense.
If anybody tells you this isn't about turning profit, they're lying. You have to turn.
Yeah, that's even non-profits turn profit.
That's business. It's just business.
Yeah. So then you decided, let's focus more on demolition. What were some of your, because as far as I know that is a very niche industry to get into. When I had just graduated from college, I was like, oh, I would like to get internships in this. And there was like, professors, that's impossible. You'd like to get, they're not hiring. They hire from within the family, or they hire, you've got this college degree. They're looking for someone who comes from a driller's years of drilling to join the business. How the hell did you feel like you already had that resume because you came from Demtech, or you had hired Demtech and you had already worked with them? So they fostered you into the demolition business.
Correct.
Then you took over. So what was that transition like? What was it like going from construction to demolition?
Very tough, because it's a very niche market, and there's players in the industry that had been around for 50 plus years.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I will be the first one to tell you that Mark Loazzo and Jim Reedite are the pioneers in the demo industry. I will never ever take that away from anybody.
We're trying to get him on the podcast.
They're the pioneers in it, and without them, we probably wouldn't even have this, or it wouldn't be where it is, because we've all learned from it. Now, with that said, people are aging out. There's new people coming. There's a company out of Canada they can play it very well. Good group of guys, and I have zero bad things to say about them.
There's enough business. I mean, you have to bid each other, but and it's still pretty competitive, but there's still lots of work going on.
There's enough. It's, we're not sure. CDI is the biggest in our area, and they are by far the king of, and they probably do more than all the rest of us, but they have a resume.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't compete.
Right.
I did a windmill project. It was 110 windmills, but one of the specs was you have to provide a project that you've got more than 7 windmills. So until you allow somebody else that opportunity, and I'm not saying that they're not going to give them the best price. I don't know.
But
I don't know what their price is.
If that's a stipulation, then
and those are some
it's
of
a barrier of entry.
Yes,
just like any
business.
business.
Things that we fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Part of it is they want to know who they're hiring. They want to make sure that you're capable of doing it. I get it. But if you won't allow anybody else the opportunity, you're going to be stuck with one contract or 2 contracts.
I see. And when it comes down to, you've said it earlier and other people have said it before, is, you're one shot away from being that insurance claim, and then you're going to be out of business, or you got to restructure, rename the company and go, were there earlier blasts in your career? I mean, obviously now it's still that way. There's still projects that are ones that are higher risk than others, but were there some in your early days that were quite of a concern for you, or that you felt like maybe you overreached? One that you were like, didn't think I was going to get this one, and I got it, and now I got to do it. And
sure. It's like every company out there. You put bids out expecting to get 10 or 15% of them, and then all of a sudden you get 30% of them, and you have a quarter of the resources that you need to do these projects. So then you're hiring other people, you're trying to stretch your means, and you're stretching your people, and you can only do that so much, and then complacency.
Right.
Because they're tired. You're working 6 days, 12 hours a day.
Traveling back and forth.
Doing whatever you can to try and keep up. And I'm sure there's several projects. I can't think of them off the top of my head that I really shouldn't be doing this type project.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm German. I love a good challenge. I love a good argument.
That's probably why you're doing well in demolition then. So, okay. And is it, when it comes down to, working with the, the art, let's say, of different mediums, you shifted away from the inconsistent rock that is ever changing to this is what the design of this concrete's supposed to be. Is it really what it's supposed to be? Is the rebar there, or where is it? Or, I was on a project and they were drilling through wood. They built it. There was still wood in the concrete. What is interesting aspects in demolition that really threw you through a loop from coming from the construction industry, coming from the rock industry, going into the demolition?
Rock is very, I don't want to say predictable, because it kind of isn't, but yet.
You think it's more predictable than concrete, or you think it's more predictable than like columns and beams?
It was more, that's what I was comfortable
Okay.
was rock. I knew how the different rock masses that we typically would react. And when you're dealing with concrete, you've got PSI strength, you've got different rebar cages. We shot turbine bases out in Arizona that had number 18 rebar on 8-inch center around the outside of it.
That was easy to drill.
Ate up a lot of bits. Yeah. But, and when you've got that amount of rebar, your powder factor is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got a cage containing all of that energy, and you've got a contractor that wants all of this on the ground. Well, that becomes a different context of, we're just fracturing. And it's a lot of what the contractor wanted. Oh, can you guarantee that when I hit this as hard as you want me to hit it, that when this concrete flies 600-800 foot, it's not going to hurt anything? Is there anything, are you going to protect everything around enough?
Right.
And those are the kinds of fights, I don't want to say fights, but those are the discussions that have to happen. Because I don't care what you do, it can. And you know as well as I do, underpowering it is just as bad as overpowered.
Is there... Okay, because I don't have a lot of experience in demolition. I've done, I guess, now maybe 2 professionally, been part of. Never, fractionally, tiny part of. But, we learned a little bit about post-tension and pre-tension concrete, and cutting wedges, and well, that's more in the steel beams. But when it comes to concrete, what are some of the unknowns that you would find out when you're on the pattern? Let's say this is the design of this concrete. I would assume that they say this is this X type of concrete that has this PSI, and
right.
Then what happens when you start drilling into it? Is there something you can tell our listeners?
And a lot of times, we're not given the information on exactly what the rebar is. They might not have the plans.
Because it's super old.
Yeah. And when you get into some of the projects that we're on, which are a risk transferal, the company that owns it walks away from it, and the company that is tearing it down assumes it, but they don't have plans. They don't have anything.
That's insane. Honestly, that's insane. When I think about that, that's great.
And it just depends on the project. So engineering can become extremely tough because you don't have plans to show what's there. So you try and engineer around not having plans, which gets to be very expensive, because now your engineering firm has to come out and try and measure everything as best they can to try and develop some sort of a model for load tests, for weakening structure. And these are all things that we combat, but you have to figure out how to work around it.
I remember seeing, going up on the pattern, and there was where the one hole was supposed to be, there was 4 holes, because you were just drilling, and then you hit rebar.
Oh yeah.
And you had to drill right next to it, or sometimes you just drilled in the same collar and then you went somewhere else, and they're like,
hit rebar down halfway.
And I was like, well, which hole are we loading? I didn't even, even if you knew where, you might know where
if you have a good driller, he's painting the hole that's good.
He's painting. Some of the times I didn't even feel like he knew which was the hole that was good.
It's possible.
Or how would you load the hole that you thought was good even till it got to a certain point where it deviated in a certain way? It was a very interesting concept on that side of things. Is there something else about concrete that would throw you through a loop?
Inside.
Okay. Explain that a little more.
Well, you've got, when you're shooting a concrete, you might have, let's just say 1,000 yards of concrete. So at 8 yards of concrete per truck, you've got 120 100-ish trucks in it, 110 trucks, whatever it is. I'm not. So every single one of them trucks had 5,000 PSI concrete, or did one truck. And you can test concrete.
I see what you're saying.
You can pull samples and test it, but there's going to be anomalies that you don't know about.
Or like
So you might
how
have
they
weak-
dry it, like how it dries and cures.
You might have a weak spot that you don't know about. So you factor that in, try and hold. You're not necessarily on a burden and spacing, but you kind of are. But your burden and spacing go more on how far off the edges you are. You're trying to leave X amount from your hole to the edge of the concrete. And then developing your powder factor side of that. It's not different than a rock face. It's just that you have rock faces all the way around.
Right. Yeah, it's more like controlled boulder blasting.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're not doing it at a fourth of a pound per yard.
Yeah, because the rebar is now adding that factor.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously concrete is its own animal. And is that what a lot of your business focused on at the beginning? Or was it bridge piers and concrete demolition or silos? Or was it just, hey...
Whatever came along.
Okay.
So a myriad of different things. Concrete silos, stacks, brick stacks, concrete stacks, steel building. One thing that we don't really do is your big high-rise structure.
Okay.
It's just not something that I have provided numbers for it, but that's my competitors are way more well-versed in that if that keeps them busy and opens up some of this other stuff, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to take over. I'm not trying. That's not what I want. I want to keep my 4-man company and my part-time driller busy and just continue doing what we do.
So, was it originally just the financial margins that made you see the interest of it, or were you then like, hell yeah, this is actually a whole new form of a challenge?
It was
your German self wanted to, and the fact that every single time you're now blasting something new, that's a new challenge.
And because I will be the first to tell you that I was a terrible employee for several years there, because I got very mundane in the rock world. That
certain type of people want to chase those variables down to a science, and then other people want that different challenge each day.
Yes, and the challenge just wasn't there. It's another rock. Okay. Fill a bunch of holes, load a bunch of product, and go to the next. And it just was, life got very much just providing that not a lot of people get the opportunity to have. It's so different. The demolition world is so different. It's more of a cause and effect type of.
Is it, let's say for some of our listeners who are wanting to get into demolition,
it's such a niche market.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So
that
what is
you have very few people that can employ you, and most, and even myself, yeah, I could add a guy or two, but I just don't have. We're not doing
not consistent contracts either. It's here's a project here, here's a project there.
Sure.
It's not like, hey, I got this contract to put this many millions of yards down.
Sure. I mean,
this one quarry.
As a company, we hit a lull in April. We had a shot on April 5th, and we don't have another shot scheduled the rest of the month.
And you just have to accept that, and you have to build into your life that's how the payment is going to play.
That's why all of my guys are salary, and we do what we do when we need to do it. Holidays don't mean anything. Weekends don't mean anything. Do what you got to do when you got to do it, and then you go home.
And when you go home, that could be a month.
Yeah. I mean, we shot April 5th, and the guys are off the rest of the month. Yeah, they're doing training here and there, and I think Matt did a class with Dino on DigiShot, because we've been using DigiShot for a few years now, but we're setting off 50 on the path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the limitations of the machine, we're using 5% of it.
If that.
Yeah. So he's trying to learn more on it. Can we use it on a rock shot? Sure. Absolutely. But we don't have to do that because we're trained.
And so there's obviously job risk, job instability. But there's a lot of people in this industry who would probably be like you, who appreciate the challenge and are interested in something different. For maybe some of our younger listeners who are looking for a change, what would be some expectations that they would need to know coming into the business? You said work when it's there, hours, what are those? They're all the time or not at all.
Exactly.
But what are some of the other kind of things that might give them a heads up? Say, is this really what I want, or is this what I think I want?
I haven't thought, because every single one is. I just am going to say it's more of a cause. Yes, Evan. All that. I have a 23-year-old that's in engineering school riding up engineering. Been working, still school, and coming on. I'm hoping full time, and he's finishing up engineering school, working with the engineer that we typically like to work with on the side, working on planes. And I am hoping that he brings a whole kind of different thought process into our thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will that happen? Eventually. It's not rocket science, but yet it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, close.
Yeah,
pretty close. Is there a aspect when it comes down to, let's say, apprenticeship? So certain careers, are a lot of explosives companies start out as a driller, and hey, you got to learn drilling, and then once you learn the rock, then you can start loading in the rock. And that's how a lot of my friends' companies, Larry Gilmore down in Georgia, that's their motto,
complete agreement.
That's how you got to start. And there's X amount of years or proof that you can pull that until you prove yourself. And then you go into, obviously there's the legal level of apprenticeship, right? Before you become a level 1 blaster, blah, blah, blah. But how would that be equipped into the demolition side of it? Let's say.
I'm a firm believer that you need to start out and understand the drilling process. Then you move into blasting. I think your best demolition people came from the rock, because the demolition world doesn't teach intricacies of blasting, the science of blasting, like the rock.
Okay, you come from one. It's the foster of the other.
I truly feel that it's more of a foster, because in the demolition blast, our focus is what it takes to do what you need to do. Because, and we discussed this off topic or off microphone earlier, in the rock world, if you hit over 125 decibels, it's like a big deal. You got complaints, you got people bitching, you got everything else. And we roll into town and shoot a bridge in the middle of town and hit the whole town with 150 decibel air overpressure, and everybody just says, that was fucking cool.
Yeah, they're cheering. Yeah. It's on the news. Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that unless you came from the rock world, knowing that those are your limitations. Because when you're asked to do the open air deck, you're given the variance. We understand that's what's going to happen. So when you come from the rock, you learn the science more intricate than you would if you just what I'm going to do. You're just not. There's so few demo blasters that's not necessarily a priority.
Right.
The intricate blast. You wouldn't learn powder fast. You wouldn't learn scale. That wouldn't be a normal thing for you to think of like it is in the because demo blast, you get away with it. We get away with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the few ones still kind of allowed.
Kind of. And when we go to Kentucky, Marty Brashear has our fine.
Yeah.
Hands us our fine before we even touch the shot off.
And there's only so much you can do with air overpressure that, and a lot of papers are about that. Yeah, or just if a chimney's coming down, the chimney impact can be louder than the
ground vibration. The ground vibration from chimney or a stack is way higher when it hits the ground than explosive. You'll have two different waves.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Best is probably the most used seismic guy, or Kathy, but Keith does a lot of them, and he'll show you where there's two separate documents.
Yeah, he's very cool. Yeah, within like 10 minutes of me,
Oh yeah,
you're sold on those. He's got enough data now, and he's like
exactly
enthusiastically looking.
Hear what he knows.
Yeah,
100%. And that's
patiently.
That's really what the industry needs. People do.
Mm-hmm. That's a good conversation topic. It is because it's such a niche industry in demolition, and you do see that there is a changing of the torch happening, and more people are getting into it. Do you think knowledge is being shared at a acceptable level? Or do you think there is still corporate secrets? Or do you see what I'm saying?
That's a very...
From your point of view, because obviously it's going to be different from anyone else, right?
That's a very touchy situation.
Shh, it's the podcast. Yeah.
Well, you got players that have been for a very long time. Be protective of the house.
Absolutely.
And I understand. But they can't take all. It's
the school of hard knocks. You got to learn it yourself to be able to get those.
And it's unfair that some of that knowledge will go to the crazy.
Yeah.
Is what else.
Yeah.
Now, if their companies continue, then sure, they don't want to.
Right.
I understand that. That's business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and that is kind of a catch-22. That I'm sure they're willing to share it, but they also don't want to.
And when it comes down to, I guess, what is another major limiting factor, insurance.
Absolutely. So
would you mind kind of teaching us about the differences, because you've been on both sides, and obviously we're like, okay, everyone knows that you have to carry X amount of money. What are you talking about here when it comes to insurance, and what are...
I'll just say that it's very high in
the 6 digits, and you're being covered for how much?
That is...
Your 15 million is the minimum, or is the standard?
It varies. When you get into like TDA, theirs is 20 million. Duke Energy is 20. They're looking at adopting 20. Well, it can be tough to carry 20 million. Not get.
That's
you're paying for insurance that you're not using.
That's the big problem, right?
Sure. So it gets to be a guessing game of, a lot of projects you can get by with 5 million and lower your costs. But then if you get on a job where you bid a job that's requiring you have to buy a separate policy. And then that's always going to be more expensive than buying a separate policy, part of the original. So that's where it gets a little bit tough when you hire insurance. I can't compete with mom and pop type companies. We bid shooting a giant drag line out in a western state that they told me I was 4 times what someone else did it. But it was
Joe Strobe winning.
oh, I can tell you who it was, but I'm not going to name names. But
No, he was on our podcast.
in the grand scheme of things, their insurance probably didn't actually cover the demo that they're doing.
But because it was a drag line in the middle of nowhere, it's a kind of a different
And they
animal
probably
on its
just
own.
didn't tell their insurance.
Yeah. Or who knows, right? Man, I tell you what, I don't want them to demo these drag lines. Someone's got to turn one of those into a hotel or an Airbnb, you know. Make the bucket a big hot tub.
We just came across Wyoming and we've seen a big one running still.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
I got all excited. My life was just
It's
like,
still going.
what's so big deal about that? I'm like, it's swinging a 775 bed.
They're not all gone yet, you know?
Yeah.
But so that's something that is obviously the big barrier of entry. First, you have to have the experience to do it. You can't get the job unless you have the experience. You can't get the experience unless you have the insurance. So it's just this. You can't get into the business unless you are in the business, and you have to buy a company that's already in it, and that's it. And
then you have to convince general contractors that you're capable.
Right. And it's only getting more difficult with more insurance and more signatures and situations like that. What is something that you're looking forward to in the demolition business? So we've talked about a lot of the barriers. We've talked about a lot of the, not hassles, the challenges. What are some of the things that are coming down the line, whether it be technology or practices that you're seeing be either adopted or shared?
The engineering, probably, because safety is such a part of the world that companies are very static about it, and other companies know its place. I've worked with both. With the engineering, it gives you a better platform, not to fight from, but to, I don't want to say hard.
It gives you a better foot to stand on.
Understanding for people who don't know why we're in our industry. Everybody wants smaller motors. When you put a building over, they want it to low to the ground. Sometimes that is beneficial because it actually do, and then you can't tear it apart. So engineering is getting better and better. There's several companies for 3D modeling. Really only.
I think it's pretty utilized in Europe too, right? I went to my first EFI conference, and a lot of presentations were on demolition and modeling prior to the actual demolition.
And the modeling is getting better and better. The people that are doing the modeling they're just now getting enough raw data that they're getting more and more accurate with their modeling. That is helping. And that helps a lot with the blast. They can see the cause, they can see the effect by not understanding.
You can show them the modeling, you can show them these things, and they're going to say, this is what we're predicting if we have this charge here, and if we tweak it this way, or if you do not provide me with this cut where I need this cut, and then this will happen. Or if you don't allow me to delay the shot because of wind, this could happen, or something like that.
Well, in our world, dust is a bigger, because when you put a building over, the amount of dust off the building.
Oh yeah.
So in Europe, they got some proud of me. Water.
Literally, like
Yeah.
backyard kiddie pools where they shoot. I love it. That's amazing. It's about time. Like,
And
of course, we should put some kiddie pools on top and shoot it. Like, we told you.
sure.
I feel like that idea came up a long time ago, but people were like, "That's ridiculous," and now you're like, "It works."
It's convincing people of the cost. And because, to go buy a bunch of kiddie pools and then fill them up with water, yes, it's not astronomical, but it's cost.
Mhm.
And for me to bid that in, they're going to say, we're not spending.
Why are you buying
Well, they're just
10 grand worth
of
of
your-
backyard pools from
Yes.
Walmart?
But most of your contractors just don't want to spend that kind of money. Matt and I were walking around the NDA conference, Demolition, walked by the HKD Blue exhibit, and they provide water
Mhm.
and dust mist. And as we were walking by, the guy said, "I'll bet you a paycheck I can take care of your dust problem." And I looked at Matt and I looked at him, and it was game on at that point
Let's
because
go.
we're like, "Ain't no way."
Let's take an argument.
No way.
I'm German. Let's argue this one.
Well, and he's like, "So what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Demolition blaster." He's like, "Move on, go away."
Here's the paycheck.
Well, you can't overcome the stuff. So you have to play the game.
Yeah.
And hope that you have a prevailing wind in a direction favorable. And if it's not, you have to wait.
Yeah.
You can't send that dust cloud out into a populated area. It's happened before, and there's been fines, there's been everything else. And contractors don't want to hear that. Well, we don't have a choice. We either have to say, we're not going to do it, and then deal with the repercussions of contractors, or you turn it loose and deal with the repercussions of turning it loose.
So, if you got dust suppression, and that is becoming more accepted by the general contractor, you've got 3D modeling that helps the general contractor or the public understand your needs and necessities. You have 3D modeling to help the contractor and the public understand, or engineers understand, your needs. What is, like, let's say, one final thing that you think of that is helping out going forward? Maybe on in the explosive standpoint, not having det cord cutoffs, using electronics, and so you actually know things are going off at zero. Or is there something that maybe is coming that you can think of that isn't really well known yet?
There's a few things out there are kind of trade secrets we provide to, like, help with thicker steel, different things. There's a couple people in the industry that are, I'm going to say, pioneers, and we know who it is,
Mhm.
without naming names, that are willing to share. And as a business owner, I have to take a little bit different approach to discussions with some people. Now, my lead blaster and lead blasters of other companies have a very tight communication, and they share a lot.
Mhm.
And I want that. If we do something that works really well, I would like my lead blaster to be able to share that with his counterpart in another company, because it's just going to make us all better at what works and doesn't. As a business owner, I can't really discuss that, but I want my blaster to have freedom to be able to. He knows more about some of the new products than I do because he hears about it, whereas I don't.
All right. And so what would one final word that you would want to say to our listeners? What this was a flash interview. Hey,
Yeah.
Saul, I want you to be on
Yeah,
here.
it's kind of popped up.
It's pretty awesome. So I appreciate,
for the interview.
yeah, I appreciate you coming on. But what is there something that you want to, you have an opportunity here. Here's a microphone to talk to the industry. We got 3,000 listeners now. We're at Best in the West. What's something that it doesn't have to be about demolition, doesn't have to be about anything specific, but this is a megaphone for you.
No thought. Make the conferences interesting to you. General blast, just your run-of-the-mill blast. The conferences have gotten over-technical a lot of times, but yet blasters need to be able to have that technical stuff at their discretion. So make it user-friendly for them. Blasters, learn the intricate. It will serve you well moving down the line. I mean, we argued and discussed and kicked the can back and forth of how blasting is as much an art as
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that will argue that it's pure science. There's some people that will argue that it's pure art. I feel that it takes a little bit of both.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to say a lot of your just run-of-the-mill blasters don't know the science side. That I would like to see a little bit more emphasis put on that by the contractors, by the blasters themselves seeking
it, right? Not to say, okay, this is
how we do things.
Yeah. And here's a conference for this, and here's a conference for that.
Don't be cookie.
We need it to be more molded together and make sure that blasters have access to the science without
but yet
making it too
are
scientific.
Comfortable with accessing.
Right.
And majority of your blasters aren't college people. They got out of high school and said, "Thank God I'm done with that," and they don't ever want to pick up another book if they don't have it, because that's trade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to college. I'm going in the trade. Well, you picked a trade that you really need to emphasize a little bit more on it. And I would implore blast. Is what I would implore. Yes, I came from the School of Hard Knocks. Didn't go to college on it. Didn't have any formal training on it. Learned on the ground, but had a mentor that guided me and gave me. So if you don't have a mentor, find one.
That's a good tip right there.
Truthfully, I worked with a guy in St. Louis that we worked together for several years, and he took a job at a quarry that he could be closer to home and work a standard. But even to this day, I'll still call him and just talk about it. And you need people that you can bounce with. You need people that trust what you're doing. And as a business owner, I want my blast. And for other businesses, give their blast free to go to the conference. Learn the technical that they really should be learning.
Absolutely. I think that if you can take that lesson and understand that you don't have to come from a technical background to succeed, as long as you feel comfortable approaching it from a technical standpoint.
Sure.
That there is an avenue for growth and understanding and to make a safer and effective blast.
You can always.
And that's why we're at these conferences.
Right.
It's
not just about getting your continuing education. And it's networking. Talk to people. Don't just show up, do your time, and leave. Talk to people.
I feel like the people who are going to listen to this podcast are definitely on the edge of that, but we'll see how that plays out. But thank you, Tom.
No worries.
I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. It's been a good one, and I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Blast Report podcast. I want to thank the team at Blast Think for producing this show, and please follow along for more episodes in the future, and share this podcast with your colleagues so we can continue to honor our industry and the people in it. Be safe and have a blast.